Hello everyone, hope you guys are having a great day. It is May 2nd, and today I'm back with a video. Today I'm going to be talking about today, tomorrow, and Tuesday's severe weather threat. Looks like we're going to have a multi-day severe weather event. And yeah, so today we do have an enhanced risk out for areas of Kansas for wind. And we're going to be looking at that. And of course, like I said, later this week, it's Sunday today, it's May 2nd. First day of the week. And I think this week is going to be pretty active for severe weather, a little bit more active than last week. So let's get started. So today we do have a slight risk for areas of Kansas, or an enhanced risk, my bad. We have a slight risk, though, from around the Denver area, further east in the central Kansas. 2% torr in that area. I don't see a great tornado risk with this northern risk. But the SPC is a 2% out. We could see something. It's not looking likely, though. We do have a 5%, though, in Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. We can see that down here. And 2% torr surrounding that. Overall, this area looks a little bit better for tornadic activity, but doesn't look great at all. I don't think we're going to see a tornado outbreak today, but I would not be surprised if we do see a few tornadoes. 30 sig wind threat in Kansas. That is with that enhanced risk. 15 hails. We do have a marginal risk also up in Minnesota, northern Iowa, and areas of central Wisconsin, and that is for hail and wind. So yeah, now let's take a look at day two. Our day two outlook from the SPC indicates a very large slight risk that goes from Illinois down into Texas. Yesterday I was thinking they would put an enhanced risk in for this area. I still think that we're going to see an enhanced risk by day one. This is the second day two outlook. No more day two outlooks will get posted today, but probably by tomorrow morning. Which tomorrow this will be the day one, or well, yeah, because this is, for example, this is Monday. Monday's outlook. This is for tomorrow, and tomorrow it's going to be day one. So I do think they could go. The SPC could upgrade to an enhanced. 5% torr risk, 15 sig hail, and 15 sig wind. And then on day three, it continues just a little bit further to the east. You have a slight risk for areas of Kentucky down into even a little bit of southeastern Texas. And a marginal risk that goes from the northeast down into the Gulf Coast. So pretty large area once again. And no day 4 through 8, Alex, so that's good. Now let's start off by looking at the NAM. So what is going to be bringing this severe weather threat is this low pressure right here and the upper level low associated with this. The upper level low has been bringing some significant flooding in the areas of central Texas, the San Antonio area, and closer to or up towards Austin. Those areas have been getting a lot of rain from this upper level low. And let's go to 21Z today. We can see the NAM indicates some storms in this area. Let's just take a sounding in northwestern Kansas, see what kind of environment we have. You're not going to see a tornado with this sounding. Really large hail and damaging winds are going to be the main threat. Tornadoes are pretty much non-existent with that. It looks pretty terrible for tornadoes. Let's take one further to the west. Once again, terrible for tornadoes. Very elevated. Only not a lot of moisture, and shear profiles are kind of trash. Now the SPC does think there is going to be a slight tornado risk in this area. I don't think we're going to see too much activity. Maybe we could see one tornado in that area, or one or two, but I don't think we're going to see anything significant. And then in this area we do have a marginal risk. Let's take a sounding in that marginal. We can see not a bad area. Likely large hail and damaging winds. That's pretty much it. You're not going to have a tornado threat with these shear profiles. But yeah, and then the main area, or not really the main area, but the other main area we're wanting to watch is this area right here. Let's take a sounding, and a little bit better for tornadoes. Not really great though. This is just a 2% sounding. Very surface based, and also not a lot of instability, but it is there. Not capped. Overall, not a terrible sounding. That's not great though. And this area in the southern, or not really the southern plains, but the deep south, is associated with the upper level low. Which the upper level low has been kind of falling apart for the past couple of days. and it hasn't really been moving much. And the surface low is back over here. Yeah, so we're not going to talk too much about today. I want to go ahead and go out to Monday, because Monday is the day that really interests me. Or tomorrow. Tomorrow we have our, actually I didn't mean to do that. Tomorrow we have our low up in Iowa, indicated by the NAM. We're going to have a severe weather risk right by that low. Maybe we could see a higher tornado threat in this area. We'll have to see. Let's take a sounding there right here. Right to the east of that low. Now, these shear profiles, they're not impressive, but they aren't terrible either. We have a little bit of veering with these, and Hodo doesn't look great, but this would be a 2% sound. You would have a tornado threat with this. Shear profiles aren't great though. It would be probably nothing too significant. Definitely a little bit of, or definitely a large hail threat and damaging winds also. So pretty much all modes with that sounding. And then let's take a sounding in northern Missouri. A little bit of a better environment down here for severe weather. Not in the way of tornadoes, though. I think there's going to be a little bit less of a tornado threat down in the northern Missouri than we have right up in eastern Iowa and western Illinois, due to the fact we have better shear profiles, kind of from the surface low down. Further to the south, though, in northern Missouri, where we just took that sounding, we're going to have a better chance of maybe some large hail and damaging winds. We have a little bit more instability, but tornado threat's going to be a little bit lower down there. But it doesn't mean we're not going to have a tornado threat down there. That just means it doesn't look as great as up in eastern Iowa and western Illinois. And let's take a sound even down into the Texas Panhandle. I think this might be, yeah, that's kind of, you're not going to have severe weather with that. Let's take one in Oklahoma. Now, this is an area that really, this is actually kind of an interesting area, and let me go back to the day 2 outlook, and I'll kind of outline that. This area in here is very interesting. If we can get a storm to form and break the capping, break the cap we could end up getting some big time hailers. We have really steep lapse rates. Overall, I think we could get some significant storms if they can break the cap. But the cap will hopefully limit those. We don't want to see any more big or large hail. We can see the sounding is kind of impressive, indicating a significant large hail threat with us. If we can get a storm to really break the cap, that you can see that capping inversion right there. Let's skip ahead to the next forecast, or actually before we do that, let's go to 500 millibar winds, and we can see this piece of energy is going to be bringing our main risk. But then we kind of have another risk across the mid-Atlantic states down into the southeast. And that's associated with this little piece of energy. And let's go back to precipitation type here on the NAM. Take some soundings. Let's start in Georgia, and then we'll work our way up into Virginia. In this area, this is, I think the sounding was kind of close to, this was in central Georgia, let's just say that. We can see we have decent shear profiles that don't look great. I wouldn't be surprised if the SPC does put a 2% out for this area, which there already is one. I don't think there's going to be a 5%. If there's a slight risk, it's going to be for probably wind. I don't think there's going to be a slight risk in the Mid-Atlantic, southeastern states, though. I think it's going to stay marginal. It's going to be for wind, hail, and 2% tornado risk, kind of all modes. It's a very surface-based sounding. We have enough instability to support severe weather. Shear profiles are, I guess, not great, but decent. Lapse rates aren't very steep. But overall, that sounding is indicative of a 2% risk. And let's take one in South Carolina. Not as great. We have a lot less instability, and shear profiles, our winds aren't veering as much with this. A little bit less of a severe weather threat with that. And let's go all the way up into Virginia now. And this is actually kind of an impressive environment here. This might be a area where we could see a 5% added. So with this sounding here, a few things to note is these shear profiles. We have decent low-level shear and plenty of instability. This is a surface-based sounding, and that Hodo doesn't look too impressive. But that's better than some of the other soundings or some of the other photos we've been looking at today. So overall, I think we could eventually see a 5% add into the Mid-Atlantic. Let's go into this a little bit more though. Let's zoom in on this area off the NAM here and take a few soundings. Just take a lot. So this sounding supportive, that's not great. Let's take one further to the west. That's actually better. And yeah, not as great of an environment for tornadoes with that one. That's kind of impressive. But overall, let me take a sounding in Northern Virginia. Yeah, all right. So overall, I do think the SPC could maybe put a 5% in for, that's kind of too big. They could eventually put a 5% in for this area. I wouldn't be surprised if they do it. It doesn't seem too likely. But by day one, or tomorrow, I think that the SPC could put a 5%, which that means we could have a slight risk in this area. If they do put a slight risk in with this piece of energy over towards the Mid-Atlantic states, it's going to be probably really close to this area. I'm thinking north central North Carolina, most of central Virginia, maybe even into Maryland. That's that, though. Now, I do want to zoom back over to the Midwest, though, or actually the Ohio Valley. And skip ahead to the next forecast hour. Let's take a sounding in northwestern Illinois. The sounding is supportive of a 2% tornado risk for sure. Decent instability. Not really capped. Overall, large hail threat. And tornadoes seem to be the main threats with that. And I do want to take one in central Missouri. The NAM kind of indicates maybe a stronger storm down there. This isn't a very high resolution model. This is just the NAM, not the NAM 3, not the HRRR, just the NAM. That's what I decided to use today. But with this sounding, we can see decent instability. Overall, that's actually not a bad sounding. Not great for tornadoes, though. I think we're going to see a few different areas to watch for tornadoes. Let's go to the continental U.S. And the NAM doesn't show any action going off in this area. We can take a sounding down here. The environment's good, it's just capped. So if we can get a storm to break that cap, it could be a potentially significant storm. It's just very capped environment down here. Now, I think we're going to have a few areas to watch for tornadoes, or really just 2 tomorrow. I think we're going to have one in this area. That's where we're not really this area. Maybe a little bit bigger than that, but kind of that area. And I think we're going to have another one in areas of the Mid-Atlantic states. Those are really the 2 areas I'm watching for tornadic activity. The shear profiles down here where we have the capping, they don't seem to be anything too special. But like I said before, we do have a lot of capping in this area. But if we can get a storm to break the cap, we could see that storm produce some large hail and maybe a pretty significant severe storm. It's just a question if the capping, if we can get the cap to break. Take a look at mixed layer CIN. See, we have a lot of capping, but in some areas we don't have much at all. So let's take a sounding right here. And the NAM is indicated with that capping inversion may be breaking. This would definitely support severe weather. We have extreme instability, not very steep, but pretty steep lapse rates. Shear profiles are nice. Overall, not really much of a tornado threat, maybe a 2% risk, but this sounding would be supportive of a pretty significant severe potential if we have enough lift. You can see, I think we have we have a front right here. So maybe if we can get something to go off in this area, let me outline it again. This area right here, I'd say it could be potentially significant if we can get the cap to break, which the NAM does indicate breaks in the cap. So that would potentially bring a increased severe weather threat to that area. Yeah, so now let's go ahead and talk about Tuesday. So on Tuesday, we can see we have a slight risk for this area, marginal going all the way up into the northeast. Looking pretty interesting. Let's take a look at dews real quick. For Tuesday. So Tuesday at 21Z, that's the first forecast hour we're going to look at, or forecast hour 57 up to 12Z NAM. Surface low up by the Great Lakes. Maybe a few little lows kind of riding this front, and that's kind of the pattern, or not the pattern. this is what we have going on. We can see a lot of moisture coming all the way up into the northeast. Really, the whole east and southeast has plenty of moisture to support severe weather. Let's take a few soundings along this front. And we can see this sounding really good instability. Shear profile is not supportive of too much tornadic activity, but maybe a 2% of that sounding. Maybe a tornado threat, you can't rule it out with that sounding. That would a tornado threat would exist. Let's take one in Ohio. And that's kind of trash, to be honest. Let's take one right along the warm front, though. A little bit better. We have plenty of instability to support severe weather. Shear profiles don't look great, but definitely probably that would be a marginal risk. And I want to go ahead and go to reflectivity here and see what we have going on. So the NAM indicates a lot of storms across this area coming into maybe the areas of PA. Take a sounding in southern Indiana. And, all right, kind of interesting. Not great. Shear profiles aren't impressive. 2% risk from the SPC. Tornado threat would exist with this. It wouldn't be impressive, though. We have plenty of instability. I kind of drew that wrong, but plenty of instability. Steep lapse rates. Overall, likely a decent risk for severe weather in that area. Let's take one down in Tennessee. Extreme instability once again, and plenty of, shear profiles are decent. Overall, this is kind of what I'm thinking. This is what the SPC has for day 3, which day 3 is Tuesday, and this is Tuesday, of course. I'm thinking if we get an enhanced risk, I'm not thinking it's extremely likely at all. But if we get one, it would likely be for really this area. I really haven't looked at it too much right now, though. But I think the SPC might extend their slight risk a little bit further north by the day 2 update tomorrow. Let's take a sounding in Alabama. This might be, yeah, I think that was rain cooler. Let's take one in central Georgia by Macon. With this sounding, tornado threat really doesn't exist. Really just large hail and damaging winds. That's pretty much it. That's supportive of a slight risk. Let's take one in upstate South Carolina. Still plenty of instability. Shear profiles aren't looking the best. Once again, a little bit less of a hail threat. Really just damaging winds and some smaller hail up there. But I'd say the most interesting areas look to be this area and maybe a little second area along the low for areas, or kind of along that warm front for maybe areas in the northeast. Now I want to go back over to the GFS. There's a few more things I want to talk about in today's video. So Wednesday, we have a low up in Canada. Wednesday, yesterday was looking kind of interesting in this area and areas of Florida. I talked about that in yesterday's video. Really, we look at dews here. This front really put a lot of dry air for much of the Ohio Valley and Midwest states. That would limit severe weather really for this area. Severe weather would still be able to happen in the south. And even this area right here looks very interesting, though. Right around that surface low. Let's take a look at this. Shear profiles aren't impressive, but we have very steep lapse. There's a little bit of instability. I mean, not extremely impressive. Let's take one further to the north. No, it's not looking as great as it did yesterday. Let's go to, let's take a look at instability. And we have a little bit across, or in areas of the Texas Panhandle. Yeah, not impressive. That's a little bit, that's contaminated, but, I do think we'll see maybe some kind of severe risk on Wednesday in this area. So right now, it doesn't look to be anything too special. Maybe we could get a marginal risk for this area on Wednesday for hail. That's really going to be the main threat and damaging winds, potentially. Tornado threat doesn't look to be great at this point, but I don't think the tornado threat's going to be anything too special. Now, Thursday, we can see that surface low, or actually, surface low kind of fell apart. That is that's a high right there, and that is kind of bringing some dry air down from Canada. We can see we have a lot of dry air for this whole area, the Northeast and the Ohio Valley. A lot of dry air. Really, the only areas we could see a decent risk for severe weather would be the south. But I don't think we're going to see too much on Thursday. We can go back to precipitation type here, and we can see surface low across the southeast. That's really going to be the main thing on Thursday. And I mean, it doesn't look to be really much of a severe weather threat. Yeah, that's not going to support much. Let's take one in north. Let's just take a few soundings. No. Let's take one in Florida. All right, maybe Thursday a risk down in areas of central and south Florida. Overall, Thursday looks to be mainly calm for severe weather. You can see we have a trough likely in the east, and this is actually going to become a nor'easter potentially. Friday, we can see the GFS indicates a very, very deep low, 979 millibars. That's really interesting for May. I mean, this is May 7th. This is if we were seeing this same storm system in January, or yeah, January, December, even February, we would be seeing a significant winter storm for the Northeast. But of course, we didn't. Of course, we're really not. Or this is May, not January, so we're not. But we could see a little bit of snow maybe for the Northeast. With that, the GFS even indicates some snow for maybe Rhode Island mixing in. Likely won't stick though or accumulate. Saturday we can see that low moves very quickly. And then we have another one in this area, which is why I want to go back to Friday. So Friday looks to be maybe interesting for the high plains. So this is Friday evening, Friday, May 7th. We have our surface, or we have kind of two main areas. This surface low in the Northeast, we're not going to be looking at severe weather with that, really. But this looks very interesting to me. We have a 993 millibar low in eastern Colorado. The GFS indicates a lot of activity in the high plains. So let's just take a few soundings. Let's take one in Oklahoma. Not really impressive. Let's actually take a look at Cape. Yeah, let's take a look at Cape. A very small area of instability coming up into the high plains, or not really the high plains, but the plains, and maybe a severe weather risk. This does look to be capped, but overall, I think Friday, we're not gonna really want to watch the east or the south at all. It's gonna really be, well, Texas is the south, but I would want to watch the plains, which is mainly this area, for severe weather on Friday. Maybe not this far north, but this area especially looks kind of interesting. The GFS has been kind of consistent with this area. But yeah, to wrap up this video, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will be back tomorrow. Yes, goodbye.